Hi all, I wanted to go over some of the answers to this atomic theory review day. I know you guys worked pretty hard on it yesterday, and my paint class, you got cheated out of another day to go over some of these things. So I figured I'd make this video. In this first case here, both of these can kind of depict, quote, Schrodinger's atom. Remember, he developed the wave equation that was able to determine the likelihood or the probability of finding an electron. So you can see it's obviously a little bit closer near the nucleus for reasons that his equation gave us the three-dimensional shapes of the orbitals. Okay, so as you can see, here we only have the 1s, the 2s, the 2p, and the 3s, and they're all layered over one another. So you can see that this gets very messy very quickly. But then if you do kind of a dot for the likelihood of where an electron is, you get this map. Remember, each dot here is not an electron. This could be like hydrogen. This could be one electron and the probability map. I think I've checked most of your Jamboards. If I haven't and you want to make sure that things are correct, just email me today and I will check it. This photoelectric effect video really wasn't about the photoelectric effect, but it did give a good review of wavelength, frequency, energy of a photon. Those equations are on your equation sheet. Do remember, it just says energy. It doesn't say energy of a photon, so make sure that you know that it is in fact a photon. I'm not going to do your work for you in number 3. So the actual photoelectric effect, just make sure you said things in your explanation that involved words like threshold frequency. Now, if you didn't say threshold, you could have said minimum frequency. Okay. Make sure you talked about intensity. And so number of photons, per second, what intensity does and what it doesn't do, because it was thought to do something that it ended up not doing in this experiment. And then there's also a kinetic energy piece that comes into play. So make sure that you know how to address all of those. Okay, so here's a calculation that was similar to the lab you had to do, finding the percentage in a mixture, and it has to do with law of definite proportions, which we'll discuss on the next slide. So here's one way of doing it. You can pause the video and take a look. So here we don't have a balanced equation. I talked to a group that they were trying to do a balanced equation. This is just a mixture, so it's not a reaction. There is no balanced equation. You are allowed to use mole ratios within a compound. So I did 1 mole of an element in the compound to every 1 mole of the compound. If this were the oxygen one, it would be 3 moles of the oxygen to every 1 mole of the compound. Okay, so this looks like stoichiometry. It's really just dimensional analysis. And then here's just my percentage calculation. Now, if you didn't do it like that, there was another approach. Okay, so here it was just basically mass percent. You could also use that approach. You would get the same result. So again, just pause the video if you need to take a closer look at these. And then this concept is based on law of definite proportions. So just a few things to remember. Law of definite proportions deals with compounds. It was actually included in Dalton's atomic theory, even though he wasn't the first one to come up with it. That was Proust, which you don't need to know. So it deals with compounds and the fact that compounds always contain the same elements by mass every darn time, right? So water is always going to be 11% hydrogen and 89% oxygen. If you don't have those mass ratios, your compound's not water. You have something else, hydrogen peroxide or something different. The last slide I'll go over is mass spec. So you can see that here there are a little bit of a different x-axis label. Normally the x-axis label is going to be m over z. Okay, and that's the mass to charge ratio. But remember, in all of the mass spec ones we've done, the charge has been controlled. Okay, so we always keep it at +1. So that means the mass over charge ratio is going to be equal to just the atomic mass, okay? Or the mass number is another way to say that. Atomic mass, you can absolutely know it to more than, the whole number. Mass number, you would only know to the whole number because it has to be a whole number. But atomic mass, we can get a lot better, more precise data for that. So moving on to what the heck this one is. You might say, okay, well, 98, that peak's pretty high, so it's probably going to be something around 98. Well, fair enough, but you have a lot of stuff going on down here, so it's probably going to skew less than 98. Here's the periodic table. If you look at some of these of interest, you'll see that, technetium is right at 98. Ruthenium's too high, okay? And then molybdenum is another contender at like 96. Technetium is actually an interesting one. See how it has like the parenthetical atomic mass? That's because it is a synthetic element. It's never been found naturally on Earth. So that's actually out for that reason, because we wouldn't be running a mass spec on it, because mass spec is on the naturally occurring isotopes. So that leaves us with molybdenum. Now, somebody was asking me yesterday, okay, if I really wanted to calculate the average atomic mass of this, would I need a ruler? And the answer is yes, but you didn't have to calculate it. You had to kind of eyeball it and do your best to come up with an average, a weighted average. Okay, so now that we know it's molybdenum and that atomic number is 42, we can answer number 2. So the nuclear symbol is MO. Obviously, the most prevalent is going to be the highest peak, so that's the mass number, which is protons plus neutrons, so that's 98. The atomic number, which we looked up on the periodic table, is 42. Okay, now, do remember, if we're talking about the isotope that was found in the mass spectrometer, you have to put a +1 charge there, right? Because it's only charged particles that get affected in the mass spec by the magnetic and electric fields. If it were neutral, we wouldn't be able to obtain this data because nothing would happen to it. It would just speed through and not get deflected. So the rest of the questions on this review activity had an answer key. I think I said it was out of 5. It should have been out of 3. My apologies there. But so you could check those on your own. So hopefully this helped.